Jason Abraham, the Shadow Teacher. And on this channel, I engage with the subject of consciousness and the idea of consciousness and how it wants to express itself in humanity. How an infinite consciousness finds a single point and wants to come through and express itself. And what I've found in my life is when I am engaging in creativity, that's specifically how consciousness likes to move through me. When I have these moments of flow states of unbounded creativity that moves and my ego is off and something creative and there's just a spark that I feel that animates my being when I'm engaged in this creative process. So I talk again about belief systems and how our belief systems shape how consciousness moves through us. And what I found is much of my own suffering and the suffering of others comes from fixed belief systems, or when our belief system is hitting walls with what we're experiencing, when the experience of consciousness and the beliefs that the individual ego has taken on are finding a great conflict. There's a mismatch, there's an incongruence. So today I want to talk about why that happens and go a little bit deeper into one of the phenom of this world, I should say, one of the shapers, one of the great sculptors of belief that we experience in this world. So we hear the word technocracy being thrown around a lot, a technocratic agenda, technocrats, a technocratic elite. So what exactly is technocracy? And I initially kind of think that initially what went to my mind is an elite group controlling humanity through technology. But in deeper exploration, what I found is technology is simply a tool used with a technocracy. And the idea of technocracy has been around since the early 1900s and probably before that. And the idea is simply an idea of an unelected elite that rules the masses through social engineering perception and behavior of the masses to a specific end that is determined by these unelected elites. And when you look and when you start to break out of the matrix or see through the matrix and see through how the systems of our world works, you see these different factors that influence our perception and our behavior, what we value as socially acceptable behavior. And when you dig deeper and you look at where these driving factors come from, such as affluence, wealth, is one thing that is kind of a consistent factor. Then you have different factors that change. You have pop culture, which kind of and fashion, which always change with the tide, that different times being aligned with certain fads of pop culture and fashion give you a higher social value. And this higher social value is kind of, again, this is sort of a caste system idea where one who has a higher social perception, other people want to do favors for that person. They want to be friends with that person. They want to see that person succeed, and again, the flip side is they're also jealous sometimes of that person. But these are sort of the social aspects that go with someone who is viewed in a high standing of social value. And again, we have the use of media to tell people what high social value is and what low social value is. Media through pop culture media through news and information. And again, these metrics change with different times. If you look over history, you can see different values that were presented to a culture of what was looked at as valuable from a social standpoint. And when you look at the forces behind media and behind finance, these two examples I'm using, you find men. You find if you follow the money who actually owns media corporations or who is in charge of banks, you will find a few people. And some people we have knowledge of, others we don't, but you see that's how the system works. And these people who control these very powerful institutions that manipulate the perception of the masses are going to wield this power over the beliefs of people. And what I've found, again, in my own process is I've started to find values that I find higher in myself that are not in alignment with the values of the society that I'm in, the society that is engineered by these factors of banking and media and education, formal education. You have the same types of thing. And that got me down this rabbit hole to where, in my life I've made choices where I've made conscious choices. There are times where I've been awake, but I was saying, I feel like I'm so out of flow with culture. And if I just was able to put my own desires aside and these forces driving me aside and just go with what everybody else is doing, maybe I'll be happier. And I've tried that before, and it always resulted in great pain for my soul. And what I've found, again, by understanding how these things work and then understanding what my true North Star, my true values are, it's helped me navigate the world and then navigate it as effectively as possible. I cannot change some of these power structures just in an immediate way. And from my current experience of consciousness. But what I've found is if I connect with my values and connect with that greater power within me, I am able to make small increments of influence and craft a life of meaning for myself. And again, what I'm saying is for those who have felt depression or resistance to this technocratic agenda and felt powerless, when you can kind of break down what it is, but then see that you still have a choice. And when you are making these small moment-to-moment choices that are alignment with your soul's compass, then that moves you out of a low state of victimhood to a higher state of sovereignty. And the choices may be very small, but you always, when you start to see that you always have a choice, and when you have that, again, that connection to your dream and higher values, and you align with that, that pulls you into that place of sovereignty. Kind of going back to the David Hawkins idea in his map of consciousness, the victimhood, these lower levels of consciousness are essentially rooted in victimhood. And that is feeling that there's nothing you can do, that these the technocrats, they set all the culture, and you have no choice but to engage with the way they want you to do. They limit your choices, and you got to engage that way. But that's not true. And again, this is why I'm not, a lot of times I don't talk about polarizing mainstream narratives, like on one side or the other. I tend to be, there is one side I tend to lean more towards, but I don't talk about it that much because I believe this polarization is kind of playing into what this technocratic agenda wants. They're giving you, you can be option A or option B, nothing else. And I'm just not playing that. So that being said, I hope this video gives you something to chew on. If you are exploring consciousness, knowing how you've been brainwashed, knowing how your belief systems are conditioned, knowing what factors influence what you have believed when you're starting to hit this resistance, which usually shows up as depression, it shows up as some kind of dissonance in your soul, feeling that your life has lost meaning. So when you see how it's done, but when you get in touch with what makes you feel alive, again, for me, it's that creativity, that unbounded creative play, and sharing that with others and seeing others shine and get joy from that. That makes me feel that I'm in alignment with a higher purpose here. So that being said, I'm going to end this video. Be well, my friends. Be strong, and I will see you on the other side.